Hello, podcast listener. This is your host with the most. Tucker's under the weather, so we're going to talk about being sick, as well as the things you buy on Amazon, leading all the way up to a giant hoard of VCRs I have in my basement. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
I finally set up my analog electronics station.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm still working on it. It'll be the project that I primarily work on today, because there's a lot of things, a lot of logistics I have to take care of to protect the cables from my cats. But last night I popped in my most pristine copy I have of The Return of Jafar on VHS.
Okay.
And played through the opening 20 minutes. And I had completely forgotten how low quality the animation was compared to like I remember noticing it as a kid, but not noticing it to this degree. Since The Return of Jafar, you have to excuse me at home. I'm trying to not be gross from the microphone, but I've got it.
I understand you. Keep going.
Because that movie was really just supposed to be the pilot for the TV show.
Yep.
It's using the same studio as the TV show. It's using all the same pieces like that. And I guess upon reading about it, that Return of Jafar was originally just supposed to be like a 1-hour TV special, but the sort of the creatives who were working on it were like, no, you should make this be a film and make it be a direct to home movie film. And so when they finally did it, I also had no idea it sold 15 million copies of the tape. And it grossed more than $300 million on a budget of $5 million.
Yeah. Well, of course, people had nostalgia, or like they had love for the Aladdin property. I bought it at Sunmart. I remember vividly.
I wonder if they're still counting every time I buy it at a thrift shop as towards the money that it's made on this Wikipedia.
You know what? I guarantee you they don't, because they don't get any cut of that.
Yeah, no, I know. I was hoping that'd be great if I was. That's my excuse. I'm just trying to run up those numbers for Disney.
There's one really old accountant in there, and he's like, thank God, someone's keeping me in business. Return of Jafar. Return of Jafar.
I did take all of my extra copies of Return of Jafar, put them in a box, and put them back out in the garage. At some point, I'll put them back out in the wild, now that I've got like a really pristine copy.
Why would you put that into a podcast? Because now someone's going to rob you. They know where the cheese is hidden, man.
Well, I mean, I thought I was pretty close to cornering the market, but now that I see that they sold 15 million copies, I'm like, you know what? When you see the cold reality of it, you might as well just go, no, this is not a rare item, but a desirable item for sure.
So, Tucker, you're under the weather right now. I just recently got my COVID booster shot, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I got it over the weekend, and I had to take Monday and Tuesday off of work because it was such an ordeal. What's nice, though, is knowing that, listen, this is ultimately going to save my health later on. But it got me to thinking about all those things we do when we are sick and when we're stuck at home. I think there's a lot of people who have certain comfort things that they go towards. I know for me, one of the first things I do is I throw a sheet over the couch. And I've done that since I was a little kid, and I don't know if it's because I used to sweat a lot as a kid when I was sick, or
I think it's almost like you're saying, "Oh, this is now sanitized for my health."
Yeah, a little bit, right? Or I'm trying to protect the next person, the same way the doctor puts the butcher paper when you get a checkup.
I'm sick. Better put some butcher paper down on this couch.
When I was a little kid, I think I had like 3 notable moments of illness or times that I went to the hospital. One of them was I was playing with a truck on this, like these built-in cabinets we had that were just huge so you could crawl on top of them, and I fell off and I fell right onto an old antique wicker rocking horse that we had, but one of the edges was frayed, and it gave me a Joker kind of cut that went essentially from like dimple to dimple, but through my chin like a chin strap.
Ugh.
And I remember having to, like, it was really, really bad. And I had to go to the emergency room, and they had to strap me to a little board and give this little kid stitches. I have a small scar, like right on my chin from it that isn't really noticeable because it looks more like, oh, that dude's chubby and he's got a double chin. And that's where the crease is for it. And then again, later on when I was a kid, I ended up getting poison oak really bad down at my lake cabin. And it was so bad that my body was clearly trying to fight it off. And I got a horrible fever. And we found out that the poison oak was located right at our shoreline in a wooded area. And I had built like a rope swing in that area. So of course I'm getting in contact with my skin everywhere because I'm not wearing anything but swim trunks.
Oh no.
And that was again at the lake, my mom had to call poison control because we got these awesome glow sticks, and then I was in the bunk bed chewing on one, and all of a sudden like it burst open and all the stuff went down my throat. And so I went out and I'm like, Mom, look, and my mouth was glowing.
Dude, this totally plays out like it would be the training video that they show new employees at poison control.
Yep.
Of like, here are some of the instances that you may end up dealing with. And they've hired this one kid from like a local community theater to do it. And he's like, it's his first big role. And he's playing the kid who gets all the different kinds of poison.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, if this pans out, I'm going to be the kid in the burn videos too.
I so now want to make a short film with you of a character who just finds about a million different ways to get poisoned accidentally.
Right. Like even the ways that are just like no one would ever do this. Be like, that red gas can looks delicious. I'm super thirsty. Glug, glug, glug.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is I was at an airport, and it was after 9/11, and they did this sort of art installation to tell you what you're not allowed to bring in your carry-on. Okay, so what it is, and it's starting at the bottom, the items are smaller, and then as it gets taller, they get larger so that you can see them for the further distance away. So like at the bottom, there's a floating Swiss Army knife, and then there's a handgun. But as you get close up, like higher and higher, one of them is just a straight up gas can, and then there's a chainsaw. And I thought to myself, you know what? For them to include these in this art installation, somebody at some time must have tried to get a chainsaw onto a plane. And I imagine a lumberjack going to a lumberjack competition, and then someone tried to get a big old gas can onto a plane, and they're like, oh, no, don't worry. It's full of Gatorade. You don't need to worry about this. And just that weird stuff that people had planned for. And so I think of this fondly. And then when I went to go get my booster, I noticed that they had this long list of things at the clinic of, you should watch out for this right now. And one of the things that they said you should watch out for is just straight up children. There was nothing else beyond like, did you know the most common ways diseases spread? And then just the word children.
I mean, children are filthy.
They must be, right?
I feel like that's the thing I hear young parents complain about the most is how sick their kids get them. So it might just be, if you have a low immune system, stay away from children. They just pick things up off the ground, put them in their mouths.
When I get sick, I always try and figure out like where I got sick from, right? So was it because I interacted with a little kid who had a mouthful of pennies? Or was it because a coworker walked into my office without actually needing to be in there and then coughed and sneezed and burped and farted all at the same time? What was it that caused me to
what
get
happened
ill?
to that person? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, they got all the illness out of their body in one go. I'm the one who had to absorb it.
Like every part of them was like, oh, vacate right now. Get this out right now. Every orifice, if it has a function of getting things out that way, do it. Do it now.
So when I was a kid, I vividly remember being really sick. So I got strep throat a lot as a kid, and they never took my tonsils out, which I thought is weird. Because isn't that how, like, if you take your tonsils out, you never get strep throat? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. So I remember having strep throat and being really sick and throwing up. And my mom had brought me chicken and stars.
Were the stars potatoes?
No, they're little noodles. It's like a Campbell's soup thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, chicken and stars. It's a Campbell's soup grab.
You got it. Yeah, got it.
So she gives me a bowl of that, and then we have a giant metal mixing bowl. So like when we make stuffing for Thanksgiving, it's huge. That was also our puke bowl. So if someone wasn't feeling well, this giant metal mixing bowl sat on the side of our bed. It sat like next to the couch. So I remember eating these chicken and stars and not feeling well. And my sister came downstairs and I threw up. And not only threw up, but I threw up and it came out my nose too. Because as a kid, I didn't know how to figure out where to make the throw up come from. And I remember my sister standing there laughing. And I remember doing don't laugh at me. And my mom trying to explain, she's not laughing at you. She just doesn't understand what she's seeing right now. It's all right. Chrissy, go upstairs. And the burning sensation in my nose when this happened, it was just awful.
What a great topic.
Right? I still own that giant metal mixing bowl, by the way.
Fucking set that thing on fire, man.
No, it's perfect.
You still use it to cook?
Yeah, and to puke.
Oh,
if I felt like there's a possibility I might puke during this podcast, I would have that giant metal mixing bowl with me. In fact, I'm going to send you a picture of it when this podcast is done.
No.
So you can see it.
If I'm ever at your place for a meal and I see that mixing bowl out, I'm not eating a thing.
Well, you should first say, how are you feeling? That's what you should first say.
Yeah.
And it's not like we didn't wash it. Now, here's the other thing, too. It's too big to fit in the dishwasher. So it had to be hand washed. So it never really got that ultra hot like spray that you're looking for the disinfecting purposes.
God.
When I was an adult.
This is not making me feel better at all.
Oh, no. That's not my goal is to make you feel better. My goal is to make you feel worse. I have had the flu only once in my life. And I legitimately thought I was going to die.
Really?
Yeah.
So you only had the flu once?
Only once. In my adult life, I've only had the flu once. And it was 1 year where I decided, like, you know what? I'm not going to get the flu shot. No big deal. I'm a young, able-bodied man. And I got the flu in like mid-February. And I couldn't get off the couch. I was shivering nonstop, but sweating at the same time. You know that feeling?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I remember Jill having to like stay awake at night watching me because she's like, you would just like stop breathing. And I wondered if that was the last one. But I honestly thought, I was like, you need to get me to the hospital right now. I never drink like Gatorade or Powerade. And that's all I could try and get down was like some Gatorade because I needed to replenish my electrolytes. It was awful. And since then, I will never skip getting my flu shot because I work in a place where they recirculate the air because, we can't have windows open and stuff. And people are in tight spaces because it's studios. And I don't like it. We trade viruses all winter long. And last year, I got to admit, wearing masks indoors, I didn't get sick once last year. And it was awesome. So maybe if we could go back to wearing masks inside, I know that's a very political feeling, but I'm not talking about for COVID. I'm just talking about for everything. But But to me,
I mean,
like
I definitely know a lot of people who I would be like, you know what, my day would be better if that person would just obscure their face.
Right. Also, we never had to worry about bad breath last year, right? You were the only person who suffered if you had bad breath. And then if you have an acne breakout, there's a lot of good reasons to stay, like masked up, man. So let me ask you, Tucker. So when you get sick, do you have some things that make you feel better? Do you have some rituals that you do?
I mean, it really depends on what kind of sick are we talking about, because, there are things where you can be so sick that it can just be difficult to even concentrate on anything.
Sure.
And so then I'm not playing a video game or watching a movie or anything because I just can't concentrate on it. Well, at that point, I'm probably taking really long hot showers. And I'm probably trying to hang out with the cats and keep something down. And I'm probably listening to podcasts at this point. But I don't have a specific ritual because it just depends on what it is that's going on for today, because it's just like a head cold. It feels more inconvenient than anything else, but it's the kind of thing that you got to keep away from other people. And you do want to give your body a chance to heal it so it doesn't get worse. So today I'll be doing a mostly lounging about, but I've got a bunch of house projects that I'm trying to get done. And a lot of them are low impact physically, like nothing that I would have to try really hard to do. It just would take a while. So I'll probably try to make a big dent in a lot of the house projects.
One of the things that I do is I start watching a movie and then it has to I will fall asleep during a chunk of it and then I'll have to rewatch that. And then it just keeps going on over and over and over and over again. For example, on Monday, I tried to watch the Tommy Lee Jones thriller Volcano, where a volcano erupts in the middle of Wilshire Avenue in Los Angeles.
And was the streaming, Blu-ray, DVD, VHS? How'd you pop this in?
I believe it was on HBO Max.
Okay.
So it must be a Warner Brothers film or something like that. It's a Roland Emmerich disaster film, and it stars a young Don Cheadle wearing a Kangol hat for the majority of it. I
gotta say, this is not a spoiler for Dune, but when I went and saw Dune, in the trailers, it had the latest Roland Emmerich, whatever the disaster movie is. Moonfall. And there was a audible laugh from the audience in general when Directed by Roland Emmerich came up at the end of the trailer for that. It was like, yep, of course it was. Who else would make this movie?
Partially, do you think Roland Emmerich is there? He's like, hey, I don't care. I got $60 million for making my last Independence Day movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
This is what I do, man. Hey, no, he found his groove. But it was so funny that his name is so synonymous with that kind of movie now.
And in all honesty, the trailer for Moonfall, if no one's seen it, it's about the moon falling and hitting Earth, and what can we do? And at that point, do you think he even cares? Like, they're just bringing him a script and they're like, oh, this is about if rats are able to create laser beams. It's called Laser Rats. And he's like, okay.
But they have to
call up some Academy Award winners.
They'd have to be massive laser rats, though, right? Because there's got to be the shot of the giant wave of water coming towards the Statue of Liberty.
Right. Because I think in this world, they all force their lasers to shoot the ocean back at itself. So a tidal wave is created coming back in. There also needs to be a moment where a giant shadow goes over everything. So I don't know if it's a shadow of rats, like if the lasers are strong enough that they can propel the rats into the air. I'm not a screenwriter, so I'll let Hollywood take care of that one.
I'm just looking at his directed list. Obviously, Moonfall, which is coming out previously, Independence Day Resurgence and Independence Day, White House Down.
Yeah,
I think 2012 wasn't that a disaster film?
Yeah, it's about the end of the world from the Mayan calendar.
Yep. The Day After Tomorrow, Godzilla. I had no idea that he did The Patriot.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, The Patriot is one of my guilty pleasures.
Really?
Yeah, I love watching Mel Gibson single-handedly win the American Revolution.
I remember even as a kid seeing him grab the American flag and going, yeah, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And you were what, like 13 when that came out too?
And I mean, we were a Braveheart family. We loved Braveheart, so we were watching that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we just thought, oh, great, another Mel Gibson movie. At that point, no one knew about the whole Mel Gibson.
Yeah, no one knew how big of a garbage person he was yet.
We didn't know that yet. We just knew him as this, like, yeah, he's in Lethal Weapon, and he was Braveheart.
Someone was watching The Patriot and they're like, you know what? I'm watching The Patriot and I can hear his inner monologue when he's thinking about like all the people he's slaughtered. And, it'd be great as if he was in a movie where he could read women's thoughts and then he's able to know what women want. Wouldn't that be great? You guys, who's writing this down? Who's got a pen? Okay, so let me ask you this question, Tucker, because I think that this is something that is private, but not so private that we can discuss it. What are the health aids that you keep in your home? Like, are you a NyQuil person? Are you someone who believes in the power of honey extract? What do you like when it comes to soothing your hurt body?
I mean, ibuprofen and acetaminophen. I don't really have a whole phalanx of things like that. I when I get sick, it's like, all right, I'm going to make coffee, which is what I do anyways. So there's still going to be coffee and a lot of just water. And then I do love me some NyQuil, but that's just for at night. And I'll pick up NyQuil if I can feel like something coming on, and I think it's going to affect my sleep, because I think that's part of the I think that's the thing I focus on the most. Actually, if I were to go, what's my one thing I try to focus on most when I'm sick, is getting a full 8 hours of quality sleep at night if I can, because I think that does so many wonders for healing your body as is, right? Like, you're staying in one place, your body is not having to burn a lot of energy, so it can focus on, whatever internally it has to do to fight something off. And so I'll do NyQuil for that, but I'll also oftentimes just pick up ZQuil, which has the same sort of sleepy time effects, but I'm not certain exactly what it is that NyQuil is supposed to really do for you. There's so many medicines. I mean, even, with ibuprofen, at least I know it's like, oh, I've got a headache or there's pain. I don't want to feel as much. I'll take this. But when it comes to NyQuil or Robitussin or all these other things, all I know them as is, this is medicine. I'm sick. Take medicine, right? I don't know what they actually do, though. Do you?
I got to be honest. I don't. I know so little. I'm a big baby when it comes to being sick. And so I just kind of expect things to happen around me, and I don't really pay attention to anything else, including like what I'm giving myself, even like as a home dose for something.
I guess, I mean, these are really just things that treat symptoms, if anything.
Yeah. Okay. So, let me double down on this, because we're not sponsored by the company Theraflu, but let me tell you about something I have come to really like. Theraflu. So they made these like pouches that you put into hot water, almost like brewing tea. So and they came in like 4 flavors, but I think one of the things I like is drinking hot liquids is something that, to me, I always like when I'm sick. Similar to like how you said earlier, how you love a good shower. Mm-hmm. You just want that heat and that little bit of steam. Now, at one point, I owned a machine that Vicks Vapor Rub made, and you would put your entire face, sans your eyes, into a like cup on the front of this machine, and it made steam, so you could just breathe in steam like hot water. Okay. And it was pretty great. Now, Vicks Vapor Rub also, in my wife's family, has a special they've got a special like cure-all, and what you do is you put Vicks Vapor Rub on your feet, like on the soles of your feet, and then you wear socks to bed, and that's their homegrown rural style of getting better. Now, I don't know if it gets people better or not, But I know that every time I'm sick, that's one of the things that Jill will come in and do. She just slathers up the bottom of my feet and throws a pair of socks on. And she's like, there, you'll get better. And truth be told, I do get better at some point, but I can't, like, it'd be like saying like, oh, I opened this cabinet door. This is why I'm better. And, but I wanted to comment too about your sleep. When I'm sick, I do not want to sleep with anybody. So like I'll use like a room down the hall so I don't sleep with Jill, and like I will sleep on the couch. I just want to be on my own, right? Ugh.
Well, because you want to be able to twist and turn in whichever way your body needs to like fold itself to feel good. Because a large part of feeling sick is just body aches, right?
Right.
Everything is like tensed up, and like you had said, getting too sweaty, which is why you put the sheet down on top of other things. Lately, I've actually been letting my cats into the room at night and letting them sleep on the bed, which was something I started letting them do when we just moved into this new place. And but last night they were like up all night, so I had to kick them out of the room. But yeah, I don't know if it's actually been really soothing to have them in there when they're being good for a night. So maybe that would help me tonight. Is my kitties can help me feel better.
Kitties will all get up on top of you and make you feel like a good man, man.
Yeah, maybe there's something to like the purring that they do. Like it vibrates your chi or some shit.
Did you ever have to spend any time in the hospital when you were younger?
I mean, as a kid, nothing that I really remembered. I have a memory of going in, I don't know how old I was, but to get tubes in my ears.
What?
And I actually... It was this thing where if you got a lot of ear infections, they'd put this thing in your ear, and like the vernacular for it was tube. I don't know what it actually was called, but I was getting a lot of ear infections as a kid, so they had to put these things in my ears to like stop the infections. And you go under as a little kid. You're just too. Yeah, I was probably 3 or 4. There's nothing, you can't really understand what's happening to you, right? So they have to at least make you fall asleep so that they can do this sort of slightly invasive thing to your ear. And I remember falling asleep for that and then being in the hospital for like part of the day to recuperate. But then after that, I didn't really have a serious hospital stay until I was an adult, and I got food poisoning, and I had to stay in the hospital for a day and a half. And they were like, yeah, dude, your kidneys are shutting down. Like everything's shutting down. We need to put you in the hospital. I was like, Jesus. But beyond that, not really. I've never broken a bone.
Neither have I. I've never broken a bone.
No, I've gone to the ER, numerous times for different things, but I never had to like stay, really.
Do you remember a device from when you were younger that looked like it looked like a rubber ball, but it had a long, thin, like needle nose pliers, look that came out of it, and it was like a bulb, a suction bulb. Okay.
Yep.
So this is something that I think parents have, and you don't need one again until you get a parent. According to this, it is a baby nasal aspirator and earwax bulb syringe is what it's called. And This is the specific use, according to the manufacturer. Helps your newborn breathe easier. It's easy to use, easy to clean. Also works as an earwax syringe. How to clean your baby nasal aspirator bulb syringe? Well, you be sure to like suck it up so you can get all the boogers out of it, right?
Right.
When I look at this thing, also here's a review from Charlie. This is just from June of this year. This is a good product, but difficult to squeeze. I'm 73 and hands are not as strong as they were, so this is hard for me to use with baby. Why is a 73-year-old man taking care of a baby like that to the point of where he's using the bulbette to suck boogers out?
JJ, how many internet reviews do you think you've written for just random products? Not movies, not media, but for products.
100 plus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is the psychology behind writing the review? I'm really interested. I've never been driven to write a review on anything, but I use reviews. I read them all the time. But I never feel the need to like be heard
about
a product. So what is it that you feel when you're like, I got to get online and I need to share it?
I got to share my feelings.
Is it
about
ever,
this.
Is it ever positive or is it mostly negative?
Oh, no. I do a lot of positive ones. Absolutely. I put a lot of positive ones on there. In fact, I'm trying to see real quick if they have like a quick, like your reviews section of Amazon so I can see all of the reviews that I've posted over the years. And I'm not seeing anything. Okay. So there's two reasons why I leave reviews. One is if I like or hate the product. And the other is there's a great incentive that a lot of companies send out that'll say, listen, and review this and we'll send you a $10 Amazon gift card. And so I got really into that because why not? Right. Like I'm already using the product. I might as well just, make the most out of it. Let me tell you, do you want to know the last 4 things that I purchased on Amazon?
Yes, please.
Lysol Power and Fresh Toilet Bowl Cleaner, Swiss Army for Men, a 3.4 ounce eau de toilette spray, Sharpie S Gel pens, medium point, black ink, and Scott's Turf Builder Grass, Sun, and Seed Shade Mix. Now, all of these products would get a 4 or 5 star rating.
This was all from JeffBezos.com.
This is all from JeffBezos.com. Okay. The Scott's Turf Builder Grass I got on an extreme discount. It was like half priced. And you know what? It helped me rebuild my yard because I had a horrible bunch of dead spots that came up. And what's great is it's a mixture of ryegrass and Kentucky bluegrass. And the Kentucky bluegrass is coated in a blue powder so that you can see that it takes longer for the bluegrass to grow. The rye grows really fast, but it's not as hardy or colorful. But what it does is it grows so that it actually protects and will give nutrients to the bluegrass, giving it time to go. The Sharpie S Gel pens, if you're not using these yet, these are the best pens on the market, bar none. The quality is amazing, out of this world. I would buy that over and over and over again. And you're paying like, you're pretty much paying like a $1.10 a pen when you get a 12 pack. But they are phenomenal. The Swiss Army for Men, I wore that fragrance a lot in high school and I just wanted some more of it. And I found it online. Boom, done. Lysol Power and Fresh. That was a really good buy. So I didn't know this until recently, but as a kid, I thought you put toilet bowl cleaner in the toilet bowl and it's got the curved neck. So you just, you kind of go in and you squirt it around in a circle. I didn't know you still needed to scrub the toilet. I thought you put that in there and then you just let it sit for a while and then you flush the toilet and it's clean.
You'd think that science would have gotten that far, but yeah, no, they still want you in there with some elbow grease.
You know what is one of the biggest lies that I'm surprised no one's sued yet is the term scrubbing bubbles in the brand Lysol scrubbing bubbles. There's no scrubbing that's taking place at all. It is just a surface quality, like it's awful. But you want to, okay. So really going deep on my Amazon right now. My browsing history is now this nasal bulb, 2 pairs of Ray-Ban sunglasses, a T-shirt that says everything's all right. I swear it's all right. That has Christmas lights that are all like biggity biggity. Disney Plus for some reason. But then this is the last thing I was looking at and I seriously was considering. I was willing to drop $8,500 on a 26-inch die cutting machine and puzzle die. It's a machine that cuts puzzles. And the reason I wanted this is I thought that could be a good business for me, making custom puzzles.
Does this go in the garage?
Yeah, it's a big industrial machine. In fact, I wonder if it's got a weight on here, like where they talk about like things. Okay. It is.
What's so great about how the algorithm now works for people with what ads you end up seeing. It's not necessarily what you've been searching for, but what people who you are around are searching for. Mm-hmm. So like they can tell, okay, JJ's phone is at this building. They don't know it's KFGO, but they know it's there every day and it's around all these other specific phones. And because JJ searched for, bluegrass seeds and how to cut a puzzle in your garage, your coworker is going to be like, why the fuck do I keep getting puzzle machine ads? I don't want a puzzle machine. Why would I ever want a puzzle machine?
I think that more people probably want a puzzle machine than you think. I want to be my own boss.
I bet the algorithm is like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, I like to throw. One of my favorite pranks to do for a while is when people would leave their like email signed in and everything on a computer. I'm like, if they left their email signed in, they definitely left their Amazon signed in. And so you go in and you just search for a bunch of stuff and you completely throw off their suggestions. Like you can buy personal lubricant by the barrel. Lubricant barrel. So you can get Passion Lube's natural based lubricant 55-gallon drum will cost you $1,774. Free delivery for Prime members. Watch out, only 14 left in stock. And so I would not order, but I'd look all those things up, and then it would really throw off somebody's Amazon list for a long time. And then also their other targeted marketing. So I'm sorry, coworkers who've gone home and had to explain to their husband or wife why this is showing up on their Facebook or Instagram feed.
Yeah. Why are we getting a bunch of ads for zipper masks?
Yeah. That's I'm going to remember that one for the next time. These are just the fun things that, we do to keep life worthwhile and to keep things fresh. What's the thing that you've ordered off of Amazon that you couldn't live without? Like you think this is an amazing product. This is a great purchase on my part.
I actually just made a purchase like that recently. It's a new head shaver.
Ooh.
Since I'm a bald man. One of the there's definitely the upside when it comes to being a bald man that people will often mention, which is like, well, I guess, dealing with like making sure your hair looks good is just something you don't have to worry about anymore, right? It's just, that's not what it is. However, just because you're bald doesn't mean you don't have hair growing on your head. It's just not growing in a pattern that you want to see. So you got to keep the hair that is up there really short, and you got to do it a lot. And the way I've been doing it for years is just like a regular buzzer, hair trimmer, or whatever you want to call it. And it works, obviously, because it's there to cut hair, but it's always messy and it can be really tough to do because everything has to be in like, you're pushing it in a straight line. So it's really easy to miss stuff all the time. Well, in like the past 2 years, these head shavers have been popping up now where it's like an electric razor for your face where you could just push it right up against it, but it's got multiple heads on top that are supposed to move to the contour of your head. And there's a particular brand that's buying all the marketing dollars right now called Pitbull. And I looked at their stuff, but then went on Amazon and found, well, there's a million different other companies that just don't have the same brand recognition, that are way cheaper, that look like they actually have superior products. So I bought I don't know how to pronounce this, but Adel's Wellup men's 5-in-1 electric head shaver. And it is awesome. It is so much easier to just keep my hair short now. Just every 2 to 3 days, I take this to my head, few minutes, and it's also capturing all of the trimmings just like an electric razor does. So I'm not having to deal with all the kind of cleanup that I'd have to do previously, which was the biggest pain in the butt. So yeah, I'm really digging this thing. In fact, today's shave day, so I'm going to go do that after this, and it's going to feel great. You can use it in the shower. You can use it dry or with shaving cream. It is a big plus. So Adel's Wellup's men's 5-in-1 electric head shaver. And you do not have to be male to use this, by the way.
Interesting. So we salute you, head shaver. You brought Tucker to a happier place in his life, a place where he's no longer wasting those precious moments during the day, having to say, "What am I going to do with this used razor blade that is no longer crisp because I've used it on my dome?"
Exactly.
How's your head as far as shapes? Like, are there divots and valleys that make it difficult for keeping it trim?
It's not a perfect sphere, but it's fairly round. I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah. I've never really looked, though.
Right. It as time's gone on, I've noticed more and more of its own deformities, but for the most part, I've got kind of a Professor Xavier head.
Do you like your Professor X head?
I mean, I would love to have a full head of hair, but even when I had a full head of hair, I had no idea what to do with it. So it never looked good. It always looked weird. So at this point, I've embraced it. It's actually very freeing. It feels good after you've had a trim. But yeah, it'd be nice to have hair, be a hairman.
My stylist is a friend, and I've missed my last 2 haircuts. One because I forgot completely, and another because there was some stuff going on at work, and I had to like call and cancel at the last minute. So my hair is unacceptably long right now. So long that like it's going down behind the collar of my shirt.
Oh, yeah. It's really tickling.
Yeah. So I've got to go get a haircut. The problem is that she is so good and so in demand that I'm like 6 weeks out. Like I'm looking at almost the first of the year for a haircut. And so part of me thinks like, why don't I just go someplace where I can like just sit down randomly? But I do like when my stylist is invested in my look, right? Where she's like, I follow you on Instagram. I have to look at you all the time versus someone who's like, what's the worst? I give you a better haircut. And, I just 4 weeks later, you're fine. I always get really nervous when it comes to picking the right person for the hair, because you also are picking a person who you're going to have to make conversation or actively avoid making conversation with for 20 to 30 minutes. Ooh, now that is a difficult place for me to be. As outgoing and gregarious as I am, and as much as I like talking to strangers, I get nervous when somebody is like touching me and doing something to me. Like there's a great episode of Pete and Pete where Pete wants to talk, like break the nut and like talk to his barber about something. I believe it's the mythical Saturday episode. Are you familiar with the episode I'm talking about, Tucker?
I'm trying to recall it now. So I'm having flashes of awareness of it, but I'm not.
It's the episode where Stu, the bus driver, gets stuck at the longest red light ever, and he's going home to eat pizza. And
isn't it like one of the last episodes?
It is. And Wayne gets the Krebs All-Stars, and he's worried about getting grass stains on them. And one of the girls is a ninja. And so Pete's going to get his haircut, and J.K. Simmons is his barber, and he never talks. And so Pete has found some secret information that this guy's obsessed with like shoes. And so Pete, when he sits down, this is big Pete. He sits down, he goes, hey, have you seen those new Krebs Star Ultras? And like, it's a great, because it's just a shot of his eyes and they like light up immediately and they talk. The only downside is that now that he's having such a great conversation, he messes up Pete's haircut. And I worry that sometimes that I will be so engaging and so funny that they'll accidentally nip my ear, or they'll be like going, bzz, oh no.
You're like, well, I did it to myself.
Right. So these are the things that go on in my mind on a daily basis. In fact, I feel like when we get into the point of technology where we're able to record our thoughts onto like a microchip we just stick in our tongue, people are going to be like, man alive, that kid's weird. He worries about a lot of weird stuff. Like I also worry about when I get room service at a hotel, which is rare, but when I do, I always worry about putting the tray out in the hallway and then people can guess what I ate based on what's left.
Why does that bother you?
I don't know. It's not like when I go to a restaurant, I cover my, like my plate with a napkin. So I'm like, no one knows I'm having a patty melt. But for whatever reason, maybe it's because they walk by my room. You put the tray outside the room and they're walking by and they're like, oh, guy didn't want to drink any milk, huh? Whatever it happens to be, it is something that brings me a great amount of anxiety on a regular basis.
Well, what that tells me is that this is an activity that you engage in when you're at a hotel and you're walking down the hallway and you see someone's tray. You yourself are looking at it and you're making a judgment of them, aren't you?
Definitely.
Yeah. So don't be a part of a system that's like that. Break the cycle, JJ.
Yeah, but they put it out in the hallway for everyone to see. It's not like they're trying. Then if you're worried about it, you keep it in your room. But and I know that sounds like the most hypocritical thing ever, because here I am talking about I don't want people looking at my leftovers,
except for the help, right?
Except for what?
Except for the help, right? The way you see it, you're like, well, no, you look at this. You look at my filth.
Right. Well, I kind of want to be like, bring this down and show it to the chef because I ate the whole burger. I only left the garnish. By the way, we all understand that food, like room service, shouldn't be that special because that's literally what we've done with every food delivery service in the world, right? Like,
what do you mean?
Well, like we no longer have to put underpants. Well, you should have underpants if you're accepting an order anywhere. You no longer have to wear pants, though, when you're accepting an order from anywhere, because we've got Grubhub and DoorDash and local delivery places, Bite Squad.
I will say I've been using the Uber Eats lately.
Have you?
I don't have a functioning kitchen yet because it's sort of the last project that I'm going to be getting to. And so I can keep stuff in the fridge, but I'm just not really making anything yet. And when you're busy painting all day and moving stuff around and whatever, you just get tired. So I've been using Uber Eats, and it's amazing. The notion that I can just go boop, 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 boop. And then in like 30 minutes, I'm going to have a bunch of Applebee's just waiting for me outside magically in front of my door without me having to even interact with a human being.
And that's what I'm saying is we're so used to that now. Going to a place like a hotel and getting room service used to be such a treat because it was, like everyone could have something different, right? It wasn't just like pizza. Pizza, you get there, everyone has the same pizza. But in this world, I might get a sandwich, you might get pasta, someone else is getting soup, and it's all coming. And that used to be a big thrill at hotels. And while we're on the subject of hotels, I just want to throw this out there. The hotel industry has been shaken up dramatically by technology in the last 20 years. Hear me out. Back in the day, they used to charge you to make local calls, and they charged you a ton to make long distance calls. So if your mommy or daddy was on a business trip and they wanted to call and say goodnight to you, they were paying like $3.99 a minute to make that call. Cell phones, gone. Can't remember the last time I even picked up a hotel phone. Number two, now because of streaming and the fact that I can bring a Fire Stick or a Roku box with me anywhere, means that I am no longer renting videos off of the hotel service. And that used to be such a big deal because a hotel would have a video available for rental before it even got to the consumer. So it might not be in theaters anymore, but it's not at your local video store. Guess who's got it? Holiday Inn.
Right.
And so those are two major revenue streams that have disappeared. Now let's talk about this. Room service. No one's ordering from the crappy hotel bar for food anymore. They can use DoorDash, Uber Eats, any of these. So slowly but surely, hotels are really taking it in the shorts because we're bringing so many creature comforts from home with us when we go to hotels. Now, that being said, maybe it's about time they tell me I don't need to be out of there by 10 o'clock in the morning. Let me sit a little longer. Let me enjoy. Let me make some lunch plans.
I've always kind of gone by 11 o'clock.
That's like your go-to?
That's usually what I'm like, no matter what, I'm typically out by 10 anyways, but I wouldn't feel bad waiting until 11. But they'll be fine.
Have you ever been in Las Vegas? So check-in time at most hotels, I think, is like 4 o'clock. Have you ever been there at 4 o'clock?
Yep.
Oh my God, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Trying to get into like one of the major hotels at 4 o'clock, there'll be 300 people waiting in a line, waiting to get to their room. I made this mistake once when I went to Vegas with my mom and my sister. So we stayed at the Planet Hollywood Hotel and Casino, and we got our keys. My mom and my sister were bunking together in a room that was themed after Braveheart, speaking of the Lucas family. And my room was themed after Die Hard, which was sweet. So they went and I helped them carry their luggage to their room. And then I looked in my key card thing, and they didn't write my hotel number in the little portfolio. And so I was like, shit, I don't remember what my room is, because for some reason they were on like the 16th floor and I was on the 19th floor. So I don't remember what my hotel room number is. So I called down and they're like, we don't give that information out. thinking that I was just some weirdo. And so then I had to go downstairs and then I had to wait another hour in line to be like, listen, I just checked in. Here's my ID. What room number am I in again? And that was pretty miserable. And then somebody told me afterwards, they're like, oh, you should have just called the concierge line because they're always looking for stuff that they could do, but it would have cost you $5.
You know, the whole hotel check-in process in general sounds like something that should just be automated at this point.
Yeah, we got to be close to it, right?
I mean, if we all have phones, right, we can show up and then there's a machine that you bring your phone up to, and there's like a QR code that you already use for airplanes and movie tickets. And you just go, it scans, you go, oh, right, there you go. And now here's where your room is located. And then you go up there and then either it can give you a key or your phone can also act as the key, right?
Okay, you've been to some of these hotels where your phone is the key because they're awesome.
I have not. No, that's the thing. I haven't been to that.
Oh, dude.
That's not something I've experienced. And that's, I would assume that at some point that just becomes the standard way hotels work.
The last time I was in Chicago, I stayed at an Embassy Suites above the Weber Grill restaurant. Now there's a reason to get room service. Oh my God, it was amazing. So it had an app that essentially it was my Hilton Honors app, and I opened it up and it said unlock door. And so you'd hit the unlock door button and then it would, the door would go from having a red LED ring to having a green LED ring, and it would open up for you. And here's the thing. Here's what I loved about it. Number one. So you could actually hit that button from down the hall. And so by the time you got to your door, it was unlocked and ready to walk into. And that was really important because I did not plan appropriately and I was having an emergency, if you know what I'm talking about. And so I love that. Number two, I love not having to worry about like, oh, where's the key? Did I put it in this wallet? I forgot a key in there. You always carry your phone with you. So it just makes sense that someone would be able to enjoy the luxury of having their cell phone as the key to get in. I already use my cell phone as my boarding pass when I'm getting onto a plane. I think that we should just rely more on our phone. And also, there's got to be a good amount of waste from hotel keys, right? I know they can reuse them, but some people just take them and they get a giant pile of them in their home.
That's what I used to do for poker night because I traveled so much. And so from every location, I would bring one of the hotel keys back with me. And I had created just a giant pile. But that was more or less just to kind of look at, wow, look how much I've traveled, right? To create this little pile. I think I ended up throwing that away anyways.
Do you take the shampoo and soap with you?
No, I mean, I have nothing against doing that, but no, I don't, because I have so much shampoo and soap at home as it is. Like, I'm already so flush with it that taking the stuff from the hotel is just not really adding anything but clutter to my shelf space.
When I was traveling with line benders nonstop, I always kept it. And then once I had a bag big enough, I would bring it to the Dorothy Day house or one of the shelters around town where they could make use of it. And, I read an interesting article at one point where there was a hotel chain that was, if you leave the bar, like if you open the bar of soap and you use it once, they've got to throw it away. They can't keep it, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so what this hotel chain did is they would set aside all of the soaps and then someone would come and pick them up and then remelt the soap into bars and then send them for the military.
Oh, gotcha.
And I thought that was kind of a neat idea. And there's another group that did the same thing with like nub crayons and giving them to like inner city schools. So they would melt down like all the red crayon nubs that, weren't even big enough to draw with anymore, but then could make, hundreds of new red crayons that they could send out. And that's the kind of reduce, reuse, recycle that I really wish I knew more about, because I love repurposing something that's old into something that can be used again for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I have like 30 VCRs that I need to get rid of in my house.
You do?
Yeah. Do you need some VCRs?
I'd like to take a look at that pile.
Oh, so you want to come look at it and choose the good ones. Someone's taking all of them or they're taking none of them.
You literally have 30?
Yeah. So at one point, I posted on social media that I had a video that I wanted to watch of the VCR tape, And I was like, oh no, I don't have a VCR anymore. And so then someone dropped one off, and then another got dropped off, and another and another and another. And then when I cleaned out my mom's home, she had like collected all the VCRs from the lake cabin and us. She seemed to never throw away a VCR. The woman will throw away by accident all of our our Christmas stockings because she wouldn't check inside of a bag, but she'll hoard VCRs.
JJ?
Yeah.
I will take all of them.
Okay. You're going to take all the VCRs?
I can even show up tomorrow if you want.
Well, I don't want you. No, I don't want to get your cold.
Once I'm healthy, then I'm available to show up.
One of them is a dual VCR where you can hit the hit the record button, and it'll record on a blank VHS what's playing on the other one.
Excellent.
Yeah, like that's the old school way. Like when I made movies in high school and middle school for projects, you could use that to like edit essentially. Having a dual VCR like that was a big deal for me. That was huge. Also, I had neighbors down the street who had the exact same one, and what they would do is they'd go to the the rental store, and they would rent like 5 videos and then just dub all of them. So they had this huge collection of videos. And I remember as a kid, like you were sitting there judging the movie The Patriot, and I'm sitting there being like, this is what the FBI warning is all about. This is what you're doing, and why are you continuing to do it? And on that, now that the FBI is going to show up and harass my neighbors and want $200,000 for each infraction, Tucker, I hope you feel better. I hope. Yeah, well,
now I have a really good goal to get well as early as possible, because that means I get to come and get 30 VCRs.
Yeah, I'm excited for you, and I've got remotes for some of them I do not.
Excellent.
None of them are TV VCR combos, which is unfortunate, because that's kind of what I'm looking for nowadays.
Are you saying DVD VCR combo?
No. Like you never had, like back in the day at my lake cabin, we had a VCR TV combo.
I don't understand the TV combo part,
because it was a television that had a built-in VCR.
I was okay, gotcha. Now I'm following along.
So you never had to worry about like, does it have to be on channel 3? What's the input? Because the second you put a tape in there, it automatically told the TV like VCR supersedes anything else. That TV was awesome. I love that TV.
We had one of those, and they were fairly small, right? Like they weren't typically really large devices. But my dad would put that in the back seat of the van, facing back. And then when we would go on like a summer trip, like him and my stepmom and my sister and my stepbrother, because almost every summer we would take like at least a week-long trip somewhere. He would put that TV back there, and then he'd go to Videoland and rent like 20 movies and just throw all the movies back there. And that was the thing that was supposed to keep us busy the entire time. And that was on one of those TVs. And that was how I first saw My Girl 2. That's how I first saw Caddyshack.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's got boobs in it.
I know. I remember the boobs coming on, and me and my stepbrother being like, whoa. But, my dad wasn't thinking about it, right? He was just, he and my stepmom were up front driving.
He's like, Bill Murray, that's such a knucklehead.
That was how I watched both of the Cannonball Run movies.
Oh, delightful.
Right. Love the Cannonball Run movies. Plus a plethora of others. So yeah, no, if I found one of those at some point too, I'd want to add it to the collection, but it's probably not one that I'm using on a day-to-day. But I'm excited for these VCRs.
Okay, well, I'm excited to give them to you because Christmas is right around the corner, and I'll just put a bow on one of them, and then I don't have to worry about anything else. Tucker, always a pleasure to chat with you. By the way, do you remember at the beginning of 2021 we made all these promises?
I do.
I think about that every week when I'm like, well, there goes another hour and we haven't fulfilled any of the stuff that we promised we were going to do.
So we're going to have to go through that now and do an episode where we apologize for every single thing.
Or we just, or we like absolutely blow through all of them in one just mega episode.
Well, there are certain ones I know that are just going to be impossible now. So we'll have to review. I can't remember how many we made. It was a lot.
It was so many. So many empty promises. Oh boy. Okay. Tucker, feel better, and I'll see you when you come to VCR City, aka my house. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. In one of the VCRs, there's a videotape of me committing a crime. Let's see if Tucker finds it.